Hello everyone, Prime here, and I hope you had a great day. Today we're going to be covering the funniest backstories in Smite, or at least out of all the characters in Smite, who exactly has the funniest backstories. We'll be going over 5 of them, and we're starting with Vamana.
I've been trained as a pacifist. Just don't call me a baby.
At this point in the Hindu mythology pantheon story, things weren't looking so great. The gods had lost. Bali, a demon, was in control of pretty much everything. But Vishnu had a plan. His 10th incarnation, Vamana, was called upon, and he visited Bali. He traded in all of his honor to beg, in the most dignified way possible, for as much land as he could cover in 3 steps. Now, you're probably thinking a human could probably cover a fairly respectable amount of land in 3 steps. Vamana was tiny, a dwarf, not a midget. Don't call him a midget or a baby, he won't like you too much. Because of the fact that Vamana was practically a chibi, Bali agreed to these terms, whilst laughing ferociously at Vamana. But it didn't take Vamana too long to grow in size. In 1 step, he covered the earth. In another, he covered the heavens. And in the final step, there was nowhere else to step, so he simply took one of his feet and had Bali offer to be a placeholder for his foot. The gods had reclaimed their land through Vishnu, through Vamana. And, well, he did it by stepping on someone. That's pretty funny, right? I'm not sure if you've ever just stepped on someone deliberately, but it's kind of awkward, and I don't recommend it. I'm guessing, assuming.
Only 2 have ever beat me, and you ain't them.
Next up, we're going over to Japanese mythology. Are you familiar with the Shikoro-dama balls? We all have one located in the bottom half of our persons. Deep within your rectum, you will actually find this Shikoro-dama ball, and it's a special part of your essence. Kappas love this, and typically it was feared during a certain period of Japan's history that Kappa would reach inside of people's buttholes and take these balls. Now, of course, nothing's free, and in exchange for having this ball extracted from you, you die, so it's a pretty bad deal for you. However, Kappas were considered to be monstrous beasts during this time, so that was something to fear. And just imagine dying from that, dying from a butt wound. That's the most embarrassing way to die. You couldn't talk about that. Of course, you'd be dead. I'm not sure if it's instant death, slow death. Imagine that, slow death from butt pains. Oh. Gods. Now, how is this relevant to Smite? Well, Kazembo is the king of the Kappa, isn't he? And as he was the leader of these Kappa, I'm sure he probably did it a couple of times to a few unfortunate victims. The Kappa are nasty.
I may need to recalibrate after that mess.
Next up, we're going over to Roman mythology, and we're talking about everyone's favorite Vulcan. See, remember that story I told you in either Ares or Aphrodite's lore video, I believe it was Ares, in which the 2 of them sort of betray Vulcan? Well, after that, Vulcan was left without a spouse, and he was very lonely because of this. So when Athena went to his sort of workshop, or his place of work, to get some new armor and weapons, she was pretty surprised to find Vulcan very, shall we say, hungry. And Athena ended up fleeing from the scene with Vulcan chasing him. Now, you're probably thinking, that's disgusting, Prime. In what way is that funny? You see, Vulcan was lame, so he was chasing after Athena with a limp. And by the time he catches up with her, he somehow is able to, let's say, spew his essence all over her leg. Unless Vulcan can finish very quickly, he must have been, shall we say, charging up his essence as he was running. Just imagine, okay, don't imagine that image, but you get the point. It's kind of a funny story. Okay, yeah, you get the point. I'm sorry. That's probably the funniest one. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to include it. I really had to. But Vulcan ended up having a child with technically Terra, thanks to this event, who Athena actually raised. So, whilst Athena was still technically a virgin and didn't technically have children, she had an adopted child. So, there's that.
Even the greatest of heroes need someone to watch their back.
And next up, we're going to talk about Hercules and Eurystheus. On his 12th trial, Eurystheus was thinking that Hercules needed something impossible to do, so he decided to have Hercules retrieve Cerberus. I know that some people pronounce it Cerberus, but Kerberos just sounds cooler. Anyways, no mortal had ever returned from the realm of Hades alive. So Eurystheus was all, yeah, no way Hercules could do this. But Hercules had a plan. Because no mortal had ever returned from this venture down into Hades, Hercules sought out the Eleusinian mysteries, and this gave him the proper insights to perhaps have a chance of returning with his life. And after battling his way down to the underworld and even beating up Thanatos, he meets Hades, requests that he can just temporarily borrow Cerberus. Hades agrees, but he's not allowed to take any weapons or harm Kerberos. So Hercules gets bitten by Kerberos as they battle, but Hercules ultimately wins and carries him all the way off to Eurystheus. And as you'd expect, Eurystheus wasn't surprised at all. Okay, that's complete crap. He was not only completely surprised, but he started crying, he had those little snot bubbles in his nose, he instantly dropped to his knees and implored Hercules with all of his might to get the nasty beast away. And Hercules did that, thus ending the 12 trials of Hercules and making Hercules a free man once again, absolved of his sins as far as Greek mythology was concerned. In today's society, no, Hercules would probably still be in jail, rotting away. But then again, he's a demigod, so he could probably smash his way out of jail. I don't know. Hercules is a fairly dramatic character.
They can't even help themselves!
Now, there's no way I could complete a video like this without including Loki. That would be a sin, a crime. It's just wrong not to. So, we have a tale of Loki and a frost giant. You see, after the defeat of Thjazi, i.e. the death of Thjazi, thanks to the Norse gods and a bit of fire magic that crispily turned Thjazi into some nice crispy bacon. Bacon is the best source of everything in the world. But Skadi was none too pleased about her father being turned into crisps. So she decided to storm Asgard alone with a bunch of weapons and armor. But instead of killing all the Asgardian gods, she made a deal with them. Thjazi's remains, or his eyes, were cast into the sky so that he could be immortalized as stars. Then she had to smile or laugh, because of course she was pretty depressed after the death of her father. And so, all of the gods sort of lined up and tried to make Skadi laugh. None of them tried tickling, apparently, but then I suppose if you were to try and tickle Skadi, you'd probably die. She is, of course, a frost giant. Smite doesn't really represent her size too well, but remember, she was willing to fight the entirety of the Asgardian gods to avenge her father, and the gods wanted to avoid a fight with her, so that probably speaks wonders for her strength. Anyways, it was Loki's turn. And oh yes, Loki had a plan up his sleeve. He found a rope, tied one end to the beard of a goat, and the other end to his two best friends hanging quite low around his legs. Then participated in the manliest thing you could ever imagine that's also incredibly stupid, and I wouldn't try that at home if I were you kids. A tug of war. The goat squealed, Loki squealed, they both squealed, and eventually they fell on the floor before Loki's balls popped. Personally, that's the better ending, because Loki's balls are responsible for many good things in Smite, such as Odin's horse, which isn't in Smite, and Loki's children, which carry you off into the tower as you enjoy that. Yes? No? Good, you do. Anyways, those were just 5 of the funniest backstories in Smite. I hope you did enjoy this one. If you did, go ahead and leave a like. If you want to check out more videos that are similar to this, I did a video covering certain relationship partners out of the cast of Smite, so that should keep your interest, so I suggest if you haven't watched that already, go ahead and check that out. But until the next video, have a very good day. I've been Prime, and I'll see you in a few. Bye-bye.